We've got the queen of teens, Molly Ringwald.
Hi.
Your run-of-the-mill high school party. A cool guy on a motorcycle.
How about a ride?
Drunken stripteases. And an evil plan to wipe out the planet. It's the kissing booth, but is it watchable? Thank you, Imitation Cheering, and welcome everybody to Is It Watchable? I'm your host, Paul. Want to watch a smart, funny, coming-of-age teen comedy? Better go check out To All the Boys I've Loved Before, because this is the kissing booth. Who doesn't love a good teen movie? They've been around ever since Hollywood discovered teens as a profitable target audience and have given every generation funny quotes.
So fetch. What is fetch?
Fashion idols.
As if.
And romance goals. The problem is that, much like with horror movies, we love the good ones, but the good ones are few and far between. Producers figured out long ago what teens wanted to see, and scripts have pretty much been writing themselves ever since. That's why for every Rebel Without a Cause, you had like 10 of those dumb beach movies, and for every Breakfast Club, you had like 10 movies starring one of the Coreys. But Paul, some of you younger viewers might say, the kissing booth wasn't meant for you. You're too old. You don't get it. You can't enjoy it like we do. The problem with that logic is that I actually do like some teen movies. It's not so much that I'm older. I mean, yeah, I am older, but it's not like because I'm older, I love all the movies intended for people my age. They still have to be good. Not like this. First, we're told that Elle and Lee's mothers were best friends and gave birth on the same day. Next, we get a montage to show how Elle and Lee grow up to be besties, sharing ups and downs and bonding over some Dance Dance Revolution, all as Elle secretly admires Lee's big brother Noah, who is always getting into fights. So now the movie picks up with Elle and Lee as juniors in high school hanging out by the pool at Lee's ridiculous Barbie dream house. It's here we're introduced to the film's two biggest plot points, the friendship rules that Lee and Elle have established to govern their relationship, and Lee's brother Noah, who Elle is secretly in love with. But alas, it can never be because of dreaded rule number 9. The next day, while getting ready for school, Elle rips her uniform pants, and since her other ones are at the cleaners, she's forced to wear an old uniform skirt that's now way too short for her.
Good morning. Morning.
Morning. Elle.
Dad, my pants ripped. This is literally all I had. I swear. I promise.
Okay, I suppose I could swing by the cleaners. Drop them off at school.
Whoa, wait, what? What kind of parent would be cool with that? Her ass is literally hanging out. Why doesn't he just call the school and say she's gonna be a little late or maybe even miss that day? Or better yet, if the short skirt is important to the plot, just don't have her father home when she leaves for school. This way it just makes him look like a shitty father. At school, Elle has a tough time keeping her butt in her skirt while she's stared at, whispered about, and sexually harassed. Luckily, Noah comes to the rescue and starts pummeling the guy. So it's off to the principal's office, Noah for fighting, butt grabber for butt grabbing, and Elle for coming to school half naked. At lunch, Elle, suddenly popular for dressing sexy, is approached by 3 girls known as the OMGs, basically a ripoff of Mean Girls. So wait, Elle had to come to school in what amounts to a plaid belt because, you know, the dress code? But there doesn't appear to be a dress code at all. So Lee and Elle need to come up with an idea for a fundraiser at the upcoming school carnival. So they toss around some ideas while Lee tries on shirts, because that's a thing. And because the name of this movie is A Kissing Booth, that's what they come up with.
Kissing booth! Oh.
Back at school, the butt grabber apologizes for being a sexual deviant and asks Elle out on a date. She agrees only if he wears the skirt that caused him to be such an animal. He does, and hilarity ensues. So it's time for their date, and Elle dresses in what can only be described as what a screenwriter who has never been on a high school date imagines an 11th grader would wear on a first date. Unfortunately for Elle, the guy never shows up, so she goes to find Lee at the arcade. While there, the guy does show up and explains that Noah warned him and lots of other guys not to go out with her.
What?
So Elle rips Noah a new one on the phone for trying to control her love life, but he doesn't seem too concerned. At school, Elle and Lee propose their kissing booth idea, and it's approved, but only after Elle promises that Noah will work the booth. Next, we meet the boy's mother, the one and only Molly Ringwald, being completely unnecessary to the plot. At soccer practice the next day, Noah offers to give Elle a ride home, but she's not having it.
I'm not gonna get on that thing like one of your makeout girls.
They don't all make out with me.
Noah and Lee's parents are out of town, so they have one of those huge house parties where half the school shows up and all the girls dress like it's homecoming. You know, like the ones we all went to in high school. At the party, Elle almost immediately goes from a non-drinker to taking a shot of something she has no clue what's in it. She then interrupts Noah's makeout session to ask him to work the kissing booth. He says no, but she tells everybody he says yes. Then proceeds to get so drunk she does a striptease. You know, like high school girls are wont to do. Luckily, Noah saves her before she goes completely naked. But even more luckily for her, he has some decency and she wakes up untouched in his bed the next morning. But the movie makes up for the lack of touching by wrapping them up in a curtain and having them roll around on the floor while she accidentally grabs his package and he breathes in her morning/vomit breath. Later, Elle finds out that stripping wasn't the only dumb thing she did.
You told everybody that Noah and the OMGs would be doing the kissing booth.
Now she also has to convince the OMGs to do the booth, so she tells them that Noah will only do it if they do it. Next, Elle and Lee have a random paint fight in the art room because it's one of those fancy schools with no teachers. Elle, blinded by paint, stumbles into the boys' locker room to clean up because the filmmakers need another excuse to get her partially undressed. It's the big day of the carnival and the premiere of the kissing booth. Elle makes a last-ditch effort to beg Noah to work, but the answer is still no. The kissing booth is still a big hit though, as gallons of teenage saliva is passed from person to person. But the crowd of horny young girls gets restless waiting for Noah to appear, so they send his brother Lee out as a replacement. The girls feel duped and the line dies down, but one girl steps up, they kiss, fireworks, instant love, you've seen it before. Not wanting to kiss the nerd waiting in line, the OMGs send Elle out to do the dirty work. But the nerd lets Noah cut in line and boom! It's magical! So magical, people clap, I guess. Lee gets a little upset about his brother and best friend kissing, but allows it as long as Elle and Noah don't become a thing. But of course it does become a thing, and later Noah gives her a ride home in a thunderstorm. They wind up in a gazebo soaking wet and make out passionately until a security guard spoils their fun.
Is that you, Flynn? I thought I told you not to bring girls around here anymore.
What?
Later, we see another pair of Elle's underwear as she uses her laptop to decide whether or not to date Noah. Okay, this movie did receive some criticism for being a little backwards thinking in its depiction of teenage sexuality, and to be honest, I kind of see it. I mean, it's kind of got the tone of a Disney Channel movie with the character of Elle being introduced as this wholesome girl next door type, only to have her appear several times in various states of undress and drunk to the point of memory loss not even halfway through the film. Next, they party at Venice Beach and clearly don't give a damn about public underage drinking in broad daylight. Unless they're chugging apple juice. The party rages into the night as some dude tries to drag Elle into a hot tub, but Noah saves her again with his punches. Then he takes Elle to a secret place that he goes to when he needs some alone time. Elle says that to be together, Noah has to promise to keep it a secret and stop getting into fights. Blinded by hormones, he'd agree to anything at this point, so he's totally down with those conditions and they spend all night doing the nasty under the Hollywood sign. How imaginative. Now that they're officially secret lovers, Noah tells Elle that after graduation, he'll be heading across country to attend Harvard. Seriously. Harvard. Now we get a montage of the two making out, being flirty at school, making out, trying not to be caught, and making out. Later, Elle gets hurt helping Noah with his motorcycle, and when Lee walks in on Noah patching her up, he thinks that, since Noah has a history of violent outbursts, that he hit her.
I swear to God, if you laid a hand on that—
Which, since Lee is Noah's brother and presumably knows him pretty well, should be way concerning. But things really take a turn for the worse when just a few minutes later, Lee returns to find them kissing. Noah and Lee get into a fight, and then Lee reveals why he really doesn't want Elle to be happy.
The only thing that I had that he didn't was you. And now he has that too.
Wow, selfish much? Elle blames Noah because movie logic. Molly Ringwald pays Elle a visit to dispense some empty words of wisdom and to increase her screen time to a whopping 1 minute and 30 seconds. So everyone is sad. Lee and Elle are no longer talking and Noah completely disappears, missing so much school that he's in danger of not graduating. And when Noah finally does emerge, he makes a really weird decision to apologize to Elle's dad. Meanwhile, Lee takes the more traditional approach and makes up with Elle directly. Next, it's prom night. We get the cliche stare reveal and the age-old Hollywood tradition of having a live band at a high school dance. The prom features the kissing booth from the carnival, and look who shows up. It's Noah, and he professes his love for Elle in front of everyone. But she rejects him because reasons or something. Later, Noah apologizes to Lee and says he's leaving for Harvard the next day. Really? They're still on this Harvard thing? I mean, the movie has done absolutely nothing to establish this guy as anything special intellectually. In fact, all they've done is tell us that he's constantly getting into fights and has anger issues. They even go on to say that he barely even graduated high school. Is there another Harvard that's easier to get into that I'm not aware of? It's Elle and Lee's combined birthday and they throw a costume party. Everyone is happy except for Elle, who storms off crying. And in the single smartest exchange in the movie, she tells Lee that she loves Noah and that he can't tell her who she should or shouldn't fall in love with. Lee finally gives his blessing and the two go off in search of Noah. But in the car, Lee removes his mask to reveal that it's not Lee at all, it's Noah. So the two go back to the gazebo to get it on as the security guard looks on approvingly. The next day, Noah's off to alternate universe Harvard as Elle rides triumphantly off on his motorcycle. Don't worry about those lovebirds. All she has to do is get into Harvard and she can see him all the time. It's not like it's hard to get into or anything. The Kissing Booth is based on a book by the same name written by Beth Reekles, at the time a 15-year-old from the UK, which probably explains the whole Harvard thing, right? I mean, she needed a school that was far away from California, and this Harvard place is pretty well known and is said to be pretty good. And I am not bashing the writer here. I mean, 15 years old? That is awesome. I still haven't finished a book. And while there have been plenty of negative reviews for both the book and the movie, you can't argue with the millions of people that love both. The book became the most popular title on Wattpad, an online platform for aspiring writers, with over 19 million reads before eventually being picked up and published by Random House. And as for the movie, it was reported that Netflix called the May release one of the most watched movies in the country, and maybe in the world. With the Washington Post adding that 1 in 3 viewers has re-watched The Kissing Booth, a figure 30% higher than Netflix's average rate. So hey, the love is real, and Miss Reekles deserves a ton of credit for knowing her target audience. But still, teens could be easy targets. I mean, some of the movies I used to like. Now, to be fair, reviews of the book were all over the map, but the movie was straight up roasted. IndieWire's Kate Erblin called the film sexist and outdated, while Megan O'Keefe of Decider was a little gentler in her review, saying The Kissing Booth is not a good movie. It is a good drunk, mindless late-night rom-com watch, but it is not a good movie. The Kissing Booth currently holds a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, but to be fair again, that's from a whopping 8 reviews, so not a lot to go on. The scoreboard says millions of people love this movie while the critics hate it. But all I really care about is The Kissing Booth. Is it watchable? Okay, first of all, yes, it's watchable. I mean, how could I sit here and tell you it's not when the people it's made for absolutely love it? Now, that's not to say it's a good movie. It's not, at least not on the traditional scale. But quality isn't what these movies are all about. It's how entertaining they are to their intended audience. And even then, many might say they know it's not good, but they love it anyway. This movie and others like it are kind of like the fast food of the film world. Sometimes you're in the mood for fine cuisine from that fancy restaurant downtown, while other times you're craving a cheeseburger. This movie is that cheeseburger. It's not great, but yeah, for the target audience, it hits the spot. But for everybody else, there's just not much there. It's not the so bad it's good movie you're going to want to watch with friends. It's not bad enough to be a train wreck curiosity or good enough to justify wasting an hour and a half. It's not funny, intentionally or unintentionally. The acting isn't great, but it's not must-see horrible. The plot is paper thin and riddled with stuff lifted from other films, but it at least makes sense and chugs along at a decent clip. And I know I keep talking about the target audience or intended audience, but I think that's really what this comes down to, right? If you're in that intended demographic, there's a good chance you're gonna like this movie. If you're a parent, your eyes will probably roll out of your head. And if you're older without kids, you might feel a little creepy. Well, that's it for this episode. Join me next time when I check out the musical classic From Justin to Kelly. And do me a solid, subscribe.